What's up everyone? I hope you're doing fantastic. If you're new here, my name's Kohen Hansen and I'm a professional photographer based in Brisbane, Australia. Today in this video, it's going to be a bit of a beginner's guide to Lightroom. So if you're new to photography and you want to get into learning about editing your images, I'm going to walk you through my process and some of the basic features that you need to know to start creating amazing work. So without further ado, let's jump right in. So you see here, I've got a photo that was taken down in Tasmania, nice foggy morning. I think it's really moody. So with this photo, I'd like to create something that has a little bit of atmosphere. At the moment, we've got just a plain raw file straight out of my camera. So if we look over on the right-hand side of Lightroom Classic, we have all these controls. Now don't be daunted at this stage. There's a lot of information here, but in reality, you only need to start playing with a few to make some really big changes to your images. Now if we have a look at this image, I like the exposure that we've got already, but this slider makes your photo darker or makes your photo brighter. As you can see, just a small change can make a huge difference. I'm going to reset that just by double clicking on the word exposure there. So something I want to do is I want to add a little bit more contrast just to make the colors pop out a little bit. And we can also go down to our vibrance and saturation. I'm just going to bring them up just a little bit. Going too far on these sliders makes it look a little bit too colorful, and that's not really the look I'm going for in this photo. So I'm going to bring that slider back down. About there is good. I always find just going back and forth on the slider to see what changes are being made to the photo gives me a really good idea of exactly where I want to position it for this photo. I'm also going to bring down the highlights just a little bit here so we can start to see a little bit more on the horizon out here. I'm not going to touch the texture and clarity, but in this image I might actually bring up the dehaze just a little bit because it is quite a hazy morning and I still want to see a lot of the foreground in this photo. Fantastic. If you're new to Lightroom, I wouldn't worry too much about the tone curve, but as you get more advanced, the tone curve is a fantastic way of making even more changes to the brightness of your image. Across the shadows, so the darkest parts, the mid-tones, your kind of middle ground, and your highlights, the really bright parts of the image. Now if we move down once again, we've got this other tab, so HSL and color. HSL stands for hue, saturation, and luminance, and we can see for each of these different colors along the top, we have our hue, our saturation, and luminance values. Hue basically changes the color. So if I go to the green tab, you can see by moving it more towards yellow, the greens on the grasses are moving more towards that yellow, and as I bring it up, they're becoming more green. Now, as with all these adjustments, making small changes can really go a long way. So I'm going to bring this slider back down to about here. I've just made a little bit greener the grass, and I like where that is now. The saturation. Now if we look at the saturation here, bringing it down starts to give it a more of a faded filmic look, and I like that here. It's nice lush grass, but I think for this photo we're going to go for this more moody look. And for the luminance value changes how bright that specific color is in your photo. So here, I'm going to brighten up the grass just a little bit. There we go. I'm also going to move past this color grading tab as well, but basically up the top we've got our midtones, and down the bottom we've got our shadows and our highlights. So just so you can see, when I start to move this around, move it a bit more towards purple, you start to get a kind of purple overlay in your shadows. And likewise, if I bring it up towards red, our shadows are looking red, but the highlights and brighter parts of our image in the midtones are not as affected. But I'm going to reset that because I don't want to make any changes. Now we've got our detail tab in Lightroom. This is where you can have a look at your sharpening of your image and also some noise reduction. On this morning, this image already looks really nice and sharp, and there's not a lot of noise to worry about. So I'm not going to adjust anything in this tab. So now we've got the lens corrections module. If we head over to profile up the top, we're going to tick remove chromatic aberration and enable profile corrections. And that's going to correct some of the distortion that's caused by your lenses. Once again, I'm going to leave the transform tab alone. With effects, we've got this post-crop vignetting. So what it's saying here is the vignetting is either lightness around the outside of your image or darkness around the outside of your image. So by adjusting this either down or up, we're making the corners and the edges either brighter or darker. So I'm going to actually darken them a little bit just to draw focus into the center part of that image. And grain, I'm going to leave that, but if you want to make an artistic choice, you might be going for more of a filmic style, then you might add some grain to your photo. And we're going to leave the calibration tab down here, but that could be really handy for, once again, manipulating colors in your images to get the exact style that you want. I'd say make sure you just play around with the software, open up a photo that you want to edit, and try and make a few different styles out of it. The best way that I found learning is just to get in there, play around with all the settings and see what works for you. And I'm just going to talk you through how to export a photo as well. So once you've decided on the photo that you've edited and you're happy with how it looks, what you're going to do is go up to the top of your screen and click on File and go down to Export. Now when we go up to the top, we've got all of these options for our exporting. Now don't be too daunted, but there's only a few key things we need to look at here. So first of all, our export location. This tells the computer where we want to put the photo. So we can say, okay, I want to export the photos to a specific folder. Here we can see the folder is my desktop folder, and you can click on the choose button to change that as well. You can also choose to put this photo inside a subfolder on your desktop. So say when I have a client shoot, I might have several hundred photos that I need to export for the client gallery. Now I don't want to just have 400 photos on my desktop. What I'm going to do instead is I'll click on this Put in Subfolder tab and make a name that I like. And what that's going to do is when I export all my photos, they're all going to go into that folder. But we don't have to worry about that here, so I'm going to uncheck that box. I'm also not going to worry about renaming our file, but if you want to, you can select custom name and type in your custom text as well. And that's really all we need to worry about at this stage. You can leave the quality on 100% down here, and it should be by default already. Now we're just going to click export, and we can see the little progress bar up in the top left hand corner, and there we go, that photo is exported and it's ready for us to view and share on social media or with friends, or print them out as well. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment down below. And if you want to see more tutorials about photography and videography, then hit the subscribe button to stay tuned. Also, if you want to check out my website and you're in Brisbane and you're looking for photography and videography services, press on the link down in the description below, and that'll take you to my contact information, my website, and the Instagram as well. Fantastic, have a great day, hope to see you again soon.